Assalamu alaikum everyone. I want to begin by thanking all of you for participating in today's inaugural lecture of the series Reshaping Philanthropy in the Islamic World. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Hasnain Walji for joining us today and for leading the lecture. So now I'd like to invite Dr. Numan Naqvi. He is a pillar of the Habib University community because he's a member of our founding faculty. He is also part of the team that put together the Liberal Core program of Habib University, which is the foundation of our curriculum and which is what sets our curriculum apart from that of other universities within and beyond Pakistan. So Dr. Naqvi, if you would please join us on stage.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. In the name of the divinity, I love this word divinity. I get a sense of manifestation, tajalli, in that word. So I like to use the word divinity. In the name of the divinity, the most lovingly gracious, the most affectionately merciful, praised be the Lord of the worlds, the most lovingly gracious, the most affectionately merciful. It is this revelation of the infinite and infinitely loving mercy as the defining quality of divinity, the very quality that above all makes Allah Pak the universal Lord of the plurality of worlds, and that has given us such a defining significance to love and generosity in the Muslim tradition. Indeed, it has cosmological significance. It is out of God's love that creation happens, the free gift of existence. And out of His mercy and generosity that existence is lovingly sustained also. It is then not surprising that out of this divine vision emerged a civilization whose primary qualities, until recently perhaps, were love, generosity, mazhab-e-ishq, where love, generosity, and sacrifice. Yeah, these are really, if you look at Muslim civilization historically, the ethos of Muslim civilization, these would be at the heart of the Muslim tradition. Love, generosity, sacrifice. Yeah. And indeed, even the idea of Tawheed, which is not simply a belief. Yeah, Tawheed is not simply a belief, because Tawheed in the Arabic is a verbal noun. It is an activity. Tawheed is actually an activity. It means unification. You can look it up. Yeah? And the first definition of Tawheed you will find is unification. And unification means synthesis. Synthesis implies an act of imagination. Yeah? And imagination is activated by, once again, love. There is no imagination without love. It is precisely love that brings together. Love is the source of unification. It unites. This is what Tawheed means. Yeah? So once again, even the concept of Tawheed is actually based on the idea of love. Welcome to the beginning, the inaugural lecture of our new initiative, Reshaping Philanthropy in the Muslim World. I'm going to say something about the reparative nature, that is the healing nature of philanthropy. Pakistan is one of the most philanthropic nations in the world, but ironically, the investment in higher education is not taken seriously by the local community, higher education in particular. Yeah, we encountered this from the very beginning. Of course, we have had many Mohsineen, many supporters. This would all not be possible without that. But in a larger sense, yeah, which traditionally has focused, so the charity work, philanthropic work, traditionally has focused, the traditionally meaning modern tradition, yeah, on immediate needs such as emergency healthcare and charity towards the vulnerable. Most philanthropy in the education sector has focused on primary and secondary education, an unfortunate part of our colonial heritage. Yeah, you should be able to immediately see that the undermining of higher education, is a direct result of being a post-colonial society. Colonial heritage that has limited independent thought and imagination, even more, we tend to emphasize the extent to which rationality was damaged by the colonial experience, so was imagination. Our imagination, even more so, has been severely asphyxiated, really, by the colonial experience. Pakistanis are one of the most charitable people in the world. This is why we keep going, and support a wide range of causes. The country is currently experiencing a youth bulge, with a significant proportion of its population being of university-going age. However, the majority of Pakistan's large youth population continues to remain disenfranchised, since just a tiny fraction of philanthropy is directed towards higher education. The university's reparative approach, this is a very important word in our vocabulary, in our understanding of ourselves, reparative, which I'm repeating, reparation, healing. Reparative approach toward philanthropy seeks to change that through our unique community ownership model. Habib University is unique in our effort to make higher education a community cause and generate societal ownership. Leading universities in the US, and this is very important to the educational model in the United States, have thrived thanks to philanthropic efforts towards higher education and educated a far higher number of students than they had in past decades. Habib University in Pakistan was able to do the same and mobilized community co-ownership to support its mission to provide access to the most talented students, irrespective of their socio-economic, ethnic, or educational backgrounds or ability to pay tuition. Really, one of my commitments to this university is precisely because of this. This is why I've been here for over a decade, now. And also because, so both reasons, both the fact that really our average student must come from lower middle class background. I'm talking about the average, as well as the diversity. Really, it's incredible, the diversity in the student body, as well as staff, etc., which is what makes Habib University such a lovely place to be in. By galvanizing both the local community and Pakistani diaspora in support of institution building, we can ensure that the country's large youth population has access to world-class education, enabling them to become thoughtful leaders, contributing to shaping a better future for Pakistan. Shaping futures is one of our mottos. Since the university's inception in 2014, the support shown by the community has allowed the university to disperse a very large amount. This is due to the growing number of supporters, both locally and internationally, who believe in the university's mission. As a result of this confidence, more than half of the university's expenses are met through community support. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our inaugural speaker, Dr. Hasnain Walji. Dr. Hasnain Walji is a researcher, speaker, writer, as well as social rights activist, social justice activist, involved in developing professional training and e-learning applications in the field of nutrition and integrative healthcare. He is president, so the fact that he is a healer actually goes well with this reparative part that I'm talking about. आप देखें हमारी ज़बान में हकीम जो है is both somebody who is wise and also of course is a doctor, a medical doctor. There's a close relationship in healing the soul and healing the body, between the two. He's a president of Integrative Quest Incorporated, which specializes in formulating and marketing probiotics. He has authored 26 books, all written from naturopathic perspective, endorsed by the Natural Medicine Society of England, translated in several languages, including Spanish, French, German, Turkish, Hungarian, Portuguese, and Chinese. He was born in Moshi, Tanzania, and currently resides, now in Houston. I have Irvine, California here. Now in Houston. Dr. Walji's institutional work for the Muslim community spans over 30 years. Since 1976, he has served the World Federation of Khoja Shia Asna Ashari Muslim Communities as Secretary General, Vice President, and then as President. He is also a founding director and the current president of the Mullah Asghar Memorial Library and Resource Center in Toronto. He has served as editor of Shia International and Living Islam magazines and is a regular contributor to a number of Islamic journals. He has traveled around the world lecturing and reciting majalis in English, Urdu, and Gujarati. There's a lot more to say given the many, many accomplishments of our inaugural speaker. But without further ado, I'd like to ask him to please speak to us and enlighten us on this topic.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Jazakallah, that's where we get the blessings for this wonderful event that we have here. Mr. President, Wasif Sahib, Noman Sahib, faculty, some of my very dear friends who made the effort to come all the way here, thank you. And finally, I address the students here, not as students, but as leaders. Because this is why we're here. I am very, very conscious of the fact that much greater minds than mine have stood on this platform and spoken about some great things. So, if I don't meet your expectations, that is my excuse. जो कहते हैं कि जो मज़ा इंतज़ार में है वो आने में नहीं. So you will excuse me and you will forgive me if I do not meet the expectations that you have. And you know, when you have a thought process that develops in you, most of us relate it back to something, an incident, a particular saying that you may have seen, a particular verse of Iqbal or whatever, and a verse of the Quran. This is our inner experience which brings us to reality. And when I watched this, and we were talking about the idea of reshaping philanthropy in the Islamic world, there can be perhaps no better injunction to us than the Holy Quran when we are told, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. That never shall you achieve righteousness unless you give something out of that which you love. And as was explained to say that zakat has a much deeper meaning. And similarly here, the idea of not achieving birr, and if we go into definitions, then this becomes a whole tafsir, but the idea of birr, which is also very much the ethos, as I was reading through, of the yuhsin that the university has its value system, the idea of birr, that doing good, doing goodness with the good intention. It's hard to translate the word birr, but this is a poor translation. Goodness or righteousness is a poor translation. But the imperative thing here in this ayah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches us is that unless you give something out of that you love. In the US, the diasporic community is very, very fond of giving away those clothes which are standing there in the wardrobes for years and years, and then a time for donation comes, bhai humne khairat kar di. Ye khairat nahi hai. This is not khairat. You give something that from that out of that which you love. And when we talk about entrepreneurship or social entrepreneurship, when we talk about reshaping philanthropy, I believe that this is the ethos with which we need to move within the wider society to say that when we give, when we want to do something for humanity, then we give something that is the best that we have. You know, it's funny, well, I retract that. It's not funny, it's ironic. जब जाते हैं हम लोग, उन वक्तों में हम जाते थे जब हज के लिए, और जब कुर्बानी की बात आती थी. Now you don't see that as much. But I have walked, behind a goat. वो कुर्बानी का बकरा जो होता था. अरे भाई देखो कि the goat must be perfect. बकरे में कोई नुक्स न हो. My कुर्बानी must be perfect. The idea is that if that kurbani of that bakra needs to be perfect at that point, how perfect should our spiritual kurbani be when we talk about philanthropy, when we talk about giving? This is the ethos of reshaping philanthropy, is to reshape our mindsets. It's not a matter of a handout or a charity. It's a question of empowering my fellow creatures, if I can, to something that they can aspire to, the idea of social entrepreneurship, where you empower the recipients so that the recipient can become a giver tomorrow. That is a mindset that we talk about in terms of reshaping philanthropy and the mindset. Now, I think I cannot do no better than the documentary that we saw in terms of the ethos of reshaping such a thing, number one. Number two, this being an inaugural lecture, for this I am deeply honored. I would like to set the scene, not in terms of the mechanics and the tactics or even strategy, because the speakers after me, better ones will come and they will talk about what can we do. My task today is to lay the groundwork of a systemic change that's needed for all of us, me more than most. And the topics that I have, which are also relevant to our leaders sitting here, the student body, because this is the generation of leaders that will come up who will truly reshape philanthropy, who will truly reshape that mindset, while those of us who are in our golden years will continue doing what we do, resisting and being afraid of change. So I repose my faith in the great minds that are sitting here, the great minds that are being nurtured in this beautiful campus, mashallah. Thank you, Aksa, and thank you, Sumaira, for giving me a beautiful tour. And the ambience, and you walk into it, and the ambience, you can see the vision of the leadership as to the cohorts that would be nurtured in this institution are the ones who, molded correctly, will become the philanthropists of tomorrow, not just by giving the dollars and cents that they have. We pray that they have many dollars and cents and rupees. But by giving the best of what they have, by translating what they learned here to go out and serve the world as global citizens who will be able to make a mark and they will leave a legacy. Knowledge, education cannot be shortchanged in terms of dollars and cents and rupees. The teachings of our faith, the value of scholars, the value of knowledge is much higher than any material thing that one may acquire. It is the height of spirituality to be able to share one's knowledge. And I have been in the information industry, as it were, for many, many years, particularly when I read Alvin Toffler's book, The Power Shift, where he wrote 45, 50 years ago that power will shift from the feudal system to the machines, and after machines, power will shift to information. I had no idea what Toffler was talking about. But slowly we realized that people in the information industry, the Googles and the Microsoft of this world, now have become wealth creators and the machinery has been left behind. I learned that. But I also learned a beautiful thing about knowledge, and that is, and I'm sure the great teachers, educators, far more educated than I am, will bear me out to say that the more you sell, the more you give, the more you still have. It's an inventory that does not diminish even when you sell it or when you give it. This is the beauty of and the power of information, that information organized becomes knowledge, and the knowledge becomes wisdom. Big difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is to know that tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is to ensure that you don't put it in fruit salad. This is knowledge and wisdom. So the idea of moving towards wisdom. So the 3 points that I'd like to sort of put before here is the crucial role of universities in a society. And one could imagine, and I imagine, this wonderful space here as a place of transformation. Not change. There's a difference between change and transformation. Change is maybe you can go back to it. But just as a caterpillar emerges out of a cocoon and then a butterfly emerges, it cannot go back. The wings are already out there. That's transformation. This is going to be a place for a pivotal transformation, equipping our future leaders, not just for the marketplace, not just for government, but to ensure that the students and those who have learned from here are able to deal with life's complex ethical challenges. This is my subject today. And it does. When I look at many personalities, and so many come to mind, if you think of the impact of Desmond Tutu, Bishop Desmond Tutu, at his university, whose moral compass was such that he was, with Mandela, he was able to avert a major catastrophe in South Africa. His university education, the people that he learned from, must have had an impact upon him for that man to be instrumental, including Mandela, to be able to. This is the power. This is the power of the institutions. So when the philanthropists of our community think in terms of what is the value, what is the impact, they need to understand our great philanthropists need to understand one phrase and one phrase only. If only they understood that if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. The impact of ignorance is far more expensive than every penny that we will invest in education, and in particular in higher education. The whole idea is how do we create that ethos which would be deeply ingrained in the fabric of an institution like the Habib University. And I see those great things happening because of the leadership here. The whole idea of Yuhsin, the whole idea of taking that inspiration from the great concept of ihsan. I talked about Bir, the similar question, or the concept of ihsan is something that sets an institution like this apart, to say that there is a bigger meaning to whatever we do, and therefore this is an environment which becomes a beacon for ethical learning. That is the essence. That is what we need to look at. I read and forgive me for quoting this, President Sahib, that Yuhsin, the website says, is an Arabic term with no single English word equivalent. It embodies the idea of measuring worth, not just through depth of knowledge, but knowledge or skill, but through its application in enhancing personal growth and contributing to societal environment. There cannot be a better mantra for an educational institution when they bring this in. So, to me, as I understood it, and Wasif Sahib is sitting here, Naqvi Sahib is sitting here, they will correct me if I err, that Yuhsin is a lens through which we need to view education, reminding us that the ultimate goal is not just the accumulation of knowledge, but a harmonious integration of personal and global development. This is the ethos. So, leaders of tomorrow, as architects of tomorrow, your journey through this university is not just skill acquisition, it's deeper. It's a much more transformative experience. Every class, every project, every late night study session is a step towards intertwining your capabilities with a strong ethical foundation. This is what it is. Remember, leaders, your skills may define what you can do. Your skills will define what you can do, but your ethics will define who you are. And this is the population that we need. The population of Pakistan, 50% of it, if my statistics are right to say, are under the age of 21. This is the cohort that we are dealing with. This is the future, the bright future of Pakistan, nurtured from institutions of this nature. What should be the price of that nurturing, at whatever level? So, the pursuit of knowledge, devoid of ethical grounding, is really a ship without a rudder, directionless and totally uncertain. And as I said at the outset, there are three elements which I believe can be the nurturing environment for, be it philanthropy, be it knowledge, be it advancement of any society. And I will very briefly talk about those three pillars and then put you out of your miseries very soon. Empathy, compassion, and integrity. Three pillars. Three pillars, if understood. You know, in a world that is often, and we see this today, torn by strife and conflict. The ongoing tragedy in Gaza is a case in point. It's staring us in the face. And there can be, many discussions and deliberations and, world conferences and whatever it may be. But the importance of these three pillars of empathy, of compassion, and of integrity were to be established, then this world would have far less strife than it has. So these virtues are not mere adjuncts, but the core of our educational essence at any school, at any university. Also, it is truly one of the things that needs to be present in the University of Hard Knocks, out there in the public square. Everyone needs to have that. So, the power of compassion. Let me go back to, empathy first. What is empathy? They say seeing with the eyes of the other, seeing, hearing with the ear of the other, is feeling with the heart of the other. And as a nutritionist, I say, do that. That's good empathy. Don't eat with the stomach of another, you'll be in trouble. But this is empathy. And, again, something that's, described, that it really is, and there's a big difference between sympathy and empathy. And I'll not go into the definitions, just look it up. But empathy is to be where the other person is, to put yourself in their shoes. Mind you, when they say that, walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, and then you will know. The cynical part will say, what did you achieve? Well, I'm a mile away and I still have their shoes, but that's another matter. The idea of empathy is the human experience of engaging and enhancing one's ability to engage deeply with local and global issues. And this is a core. If you cannot feel the plight of a child in Gaza who is being killed mercilessly without any fault, if you do not feel that, if you don't have the empathy, you will do anything to that child. We have an empathy deficit on this planet. We have an integrity deficit on this planet, and we have a compassion deficit on this planet. These are systemic things that need to be fixed. Compassion takes empathy a stage further. It's being moved by other struggles and then taking steps to alleviate them. But TV pe dekh ke rona, it's not going to cut it. We see this, we feel for a few moments, and we go about our merry ways. If that empathy and compassion does not touch me, then all the knowledge, all the hadiths, all the pious platitudes that I mouth become merely words. This is the essence. And finally, integrity. Integrity is not just being honest, it's a core of ethical leadership. Today we cry, the plight, forgive me for saying this, but being from outside, not being from Pakistan, a diasporic person commenting on this would be कि भाई ये छोटे मुंह से बड़ी बात कहाँ से निकल गई. But today, it is the integrity deficit in the higher echelons of every strata of Pakistani society which has put us in the place that we are today. This is our plight. So, integrity means being the same person both in private and in public spheres. It's about consistency and values and actions. This principle, be it in philanthropy, the idea of integrity, why am I doing this, is absolutely essential, and also in the realm of the education. Just to lighten this up, and inshallah I will finish soon. Integrity is fundamental. And if this example reminds you each time you think about it, then I believe that my work will have been done. A CEO, or as the fable has it, a king, doesn't matter. The kings and the CEOs today have many similarities. I will not go into that. Wanted to have a successor. So he gave all the potential CEOs a seed and said, come back to me after 3 months. And whoever has nurtured the seed as best will be the CEO. Well, the day comes, I want to cut it very short, the day comes and everyone brings a beautifully grown plant, with some with flowers, some with something else. There was one man hiding in the corner, ashamed, afraid that what will happen. Because his seed had not grown. Everybody had this beautiful plants. His seed was the only one that did not grow. And when the CEO looks around, he sees the man sitting in the corner trying to hide his pot so that he's not noticed, that the thing goes away. He calls him and he said, "You are fit to be a CEO." Reason? Because I had given everybody a boiled seed, nothing would grow out of it. This is integrity. The man did not do anything beyond what he was asked to do. He watered the seed, nothing happened, he stayed at it. This is the meaning of integrity. Doing the right thing, whether someone is watching or not. Well, the word integrity is thrown about. Isn't that the very definition of taqwa, of God cognizance, as we understand it? To say that whatever I do, agar dunya dekhe ya na dekhe, Allah dekh raha hai. This is that God cognizance. So integrity is something that truly, has. So let me end on this note, that the concept of Yuhsin, so very well coined, almost is like a mantra. And when you walk, Wasi Sahib, congratulations to you and to your team and everybody who has made this possible. When you walk the corridors of this, you feel that idea of ihsan, to say, yes, I'm walking. And when we were shown around by your wonderful ambassadors, Aksa and Sumaira, thank you so much once again. You could feel the essence, that you know that you're in the right place. Leaders, my friends, the concept of ihsan, which is deeply rooted in Islamic teachings, is to do beautiful things, is to be beautiful, and it really represents a higher level of spirituality. We're not just talking about acquiring knowledge in this beautiful environment, but a place where we will nurture the leaders of tomorrow. Just to end a note, I come from Houston. I moved from Irvine a few years ago. Noman sir, I'd love to go back to Houston, as my wife would also say. Living in California was a wonderful experience. Not that Texas is not. But Houston is an iconic place in the United States for the diasporic spirit towards the Pakistan and towards education in Pakistan and any other charity. Houston happens to be the biggest contributor. Our community in Houston happens to be the biggest contributor in terms of any Pakistani project that you may name, be it TCF, be it SIUT, whatever you think. I believe that ambassadors from here need to talk to us folks in Houston to really think in terms of saying, yes, support by all means TCF. Yes, support all the other relief of poverty projects. These are needed, but reserve a place, a small place, be it for education of excellence, bringing up leaders of tomorrow, taking the 50% population of Pakistan to a different level. The amount of talent that we have seen, be it at the schools that we have visited, the school for special needs children that we have visited, the Code Girls program that we do here, where we nurture young girls to come and join coding programs so that they are empowered. There are many. I went to LUMS, for example. I've been to many different places. You see some wonderful work being done. I believe that Habib University is leading the charge in terms of being a change maker. It can. The New Horizons Center is something that you will not even find in most US universities. This is a fact. This is a visionary leadership. These are the visionaries who sit here who want to create this. And I believe that this message perhaps needs to be reinforced within the US diaspora at least, so that we are able to inculcate. And hopefully with this series of lectures, there'll be others who will come here who will, in fact, reaffirm what I am saying, that if only the diasporic community understood the value of working at this level, I believe that the future looks bright. As it was said, that the idea of waqf is something that's been borrowed by US universities in terms of endowments. There is no reason why we are not able to initiate, encourage the Muslim population, the diaspora out there, also here, but in particular, because that's the background I have, the diaspora that we have, that needs to be encouraged to participate in this. So with that said, once again, thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm truly humbled and I'm fully aware of my shortcomings, because as I said, much bigger and better brains have come and spoken here. So if I have pleased you in the least, pray for me. If I have not pleased you or disappointed you, then pray for me even harder. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Adad, thank you so much for those wise Hakimana words. I'm very happy that you spoke about the importance of empathy. It's such an important part of Habib University's students' education as part of the Habib Liberal Core curriculum. And you know, it's remarkable that the very word for the human in our tradition, which is insan, of course there are other words, and those also have very interesting implications. But insan, of course, some people think it's from nisyan. That's actually incorrect etymology, as Ibn Miskaweh points out in Tehzeeb al-Akhlaq. Insan comes from uns, which is unsiyat, which is close to affection. So human beings actually relate to everything, they are affected by everything, and they are affectionate towards everything. That is what distinguishes human beings. And the other word, bashar, also is very interesting, because it immediately reminds you of this other word, basharat, which is indicative of the future. So human beings, the kind of person you are indicates what kind of future is going to come into existence. So I think that in that respect also, this Shaping Futures motto that we have at Habib University is relevant. It directly results to the very nature of the human in some respects. So actually our audience has been sitting here listening to first watching the documentary, then listening to Sadia and myself, and then you. I think it's we should give them an opportunity to ask questions also. I can moderate.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and very good evening, everybody. My name is Munawar Hamid Mangalwala. The first thing which you have just given to everybody a new meaning of zakat, which means haq. Now there is one question which came in my mind, and immediately, because I was in Oman and I was teaching to my Omani and Arab students, and I'm in a group. So immediately I sent a message to that group, and I wanted to get the clearance of this meaning in the light of Quran. So the message which came to me, it is, zakat is often referred to as both charity and the right haq of the poor. The question came in my mind due to one reason, कि मैं जिस कम्युनिटी को बिलोंग करता हूँ, अगर मैं वहाँ जाकर बहुत सारे लोग जिनको हम ज़कात देना चाहते हैं, तो वो कहते हैं हम ज़कात इसलिए नहीं लेंगे कि ये खैरात है, लेकिन अगर उनको ये बता दिया जाए कि ये आपका हक है, इस तरह हमारे यहाँ जितने भी लोग बैठे हैं वो तमाम लोग अपनी अपनी कम्युनिटी में जाकर ये बताएं कि ये आप लोगों का हक है, और उस हक को अगर वो डिलीवर कर दें और साथ में हबीब यूनिवर्सिटी को एक ईमेल भी कर दें कि इतनी कम्युनिटीज़ में इतने लोगों ने इस हक को एस्टेब्लिश करवाया, तो ये एक रिकॉर्ड भी मेंटेन हो जाएगा. सो माई क्वेश्चन वाज दिस, दैट इज इट हक और खैरात, लेकिन इसके साथ ही मुझे जवाब मिल गया. सो आई वांटेड टू शेयर दिस विद यू पीपल. थैंक यू सो वेरी मच.
I truly appreciate people who actually pose a question and give us the answer. I think there is nothing that I can fault in what you have just presented. Terms like, zakat, salat, the mufassirin, I'm no mufassir, the mufassirin will talk about many dimensions. The bottom line is, bhai kis niyat se aap de rahe ho? The intention. When the Blessed Prophet was asked, what is faith? Deen kya hai? He said that if you're happy with your good deeds, and if you are sad when you do a bad deed, that's faith. Simple. भाई कोई तफसीर की कोई जरूरत नहीं होती. It is humanity that the Blessed Prophet preached. That is why he will call Rahmatul lil Alameen, the idea of compassion, the idea of empathy. So it's up to your niyat. भाई जो भी है, I'm not a faqih, I'm not a mufti, so I would not dare to comment. I would remain in my own simple human being swim lane to say that what is my intention? Is my intention to help, to do something for my fellow creatures? That to me is more than enough. I'm sure that Naqvi Sahib has a far better answer than I have.
No, that's lovely. Thank you. आप पूछना चाह रही थी?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for that. More a comment than a question. So also being part of the diaspora, one of the biggest eye-opening moments for us has been the very strong bias in academia, which has become really evident in the last 100 days. I guess for people who are more woke than me, maybe it was always apparent, but we were living in some idea, optimism, that academia is a place for thought, is a place to explore. And what has become really apparent, and this is why I think broad-based community buy-in, community contribution to academics is more relevant today than at any other time in history. Because we do not want to go down the path where one or two people who own the resources can dictate what happens in academia. And I think this has been really what is happening even today. And I'm sure many people in this room are aware of it. And I think this idea of zakat, where the community is supporting thought leadership and academia, is really relevant today.
I think that's a very, very profound comment, very insightful. Thank you for sharing that. And truly, the idea of the public square in the ivory towers, the academia and the community, the interaction also needs to increase so that this idea flows through the community and the multiplier effect that we may have with that flowing. In the past, you mentioned the Hakims, for example. The Hakims were not sitting in isolation saying, this is our specialty. I'm a cancer specialist and that's what I will do. This is a Cartesian principle which divided thought as such. But to actually be holistic, where the centers of learning are also in a line and in tandem with those who are within the public sphere. And this is something that I think I would totally sort of concur with you as to how it becomes very egalitarian when you do that. Correct. Yes. Yes, because again, the models that are being used, and I know that Wasifai is far more acutely aware of the nuances of the colonial hangover that we still tend to have. And I don't know the saying in Urdu, but those who understand my mother tongue, which is Gujarati, and I translate that into English, to say ke saap chala gaya, lisota rahi gaya. The snakes have moved, the marks of those snakes, still the pathway of the snake remains. And we sometimes tend to follow the pathway of those snakes who came here and colonized us. But this is what it is, that we need to get out of that mode. We need to raise the next generation to be confident human beings at ease, be it here, be it elsewhere, at ease with their faith, at ease with their culture, and at ease with their connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, without being impressed unnecessarily by the culture of others. And again, and I don't just mean the West here. Sorry, I'm going out of the ambit. I just don't mean the West. I also mean Islam has no culture. There is no culture. There is Arabic culture, there is Iranian culture, there is South Asian culture, there is Malaysian culture. So be it. But for us to ape another community, be it Arab or Iranian or Malaysian or whoever, we are who we are as South Asians. We are who we are as people of the subcontinent. I am very sad when I have to use the term India and Pakistan. It hurts me. And I wasn't born in either. But it hurts me because that's my lineage. So the people of the subcontinent have a culture of their own, have a cuisine of their own. We have a rich heritage. Our contribution to the scholarly works, to the places of religious learning, be it in Azhar, be it in Najaf, be it in Qom, wherever it is, our contribution as South Asians in terms of that has been major. The sad part is that because of sometimes our own deficiencies, we have been marginalized. The works of the great scholars of Lucknow and the great scholars of Hyderabad have totally been written out of the history of Shi'i literature and Shi'i learning. And that needs to be redressed. And this is where our young will do their research. It's happening. Alhamdulillah, it is happening. At Harvard, we have tracks running where we are looking at some of the South Asian contribution. We have other places where the Imam Ali chair at the Hartford Seminary is also working on some of these. This is happening, but it's in a very small way. So, a long answer, Naqvi Sahib, is we need, to make sure that that conversation continues and that we create confident young leaders of tomorrow who understand the ethos of who we are as the people of the subcontinent.
Thank you so much, both for your comment, question / remark. There is one more question. Ji, sir.
My name is Shahid Abdullah. I am an architect. When you say philanthropy, a lot of it comes, I would say, because of the need of the area or whatever. I just want to mention, you mentioned TCF twice. I just want to at least inform people why TCF came about. TCF was it came because of the Afghan war, believe it or not. When all these millions of refugees came to Pakistan from Afghanistan, it was their culture that they have to carry a weapon. So a lot of weapons came in Pakistan, and of course then they were spread all over the country, mostly in Karachi, because these were the very lucrative hunting grounds. Kidnappings and carjackings and all these things began. And my father's car got hijacked or carjacked. And a few of us friends got together and we said, why is this happening? If these kids were educated and if they had a job, they would not be doing this. So hence, not really understanding why it happened, but it was happening. So that's when we said, okay, let's go for education. So hence, I thought that ये हर चीज़ की एक कोई वो होती है कि अल्लाह एक ज़रूरत पैदा कर देता है. Now this was just a little thing that actually instigated us कि यार कुछ करो इसके बारे में. So we decided कि यार okay, 1,000 schools, and well, right now we are very close to 2,000. But it's Allah who just keeps on helping you. And so ये चीज़ें मैं कह रहा हूँ बहुत होती हैं और Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continuously helps you. Whether it's getting more people involved or getting money. Now, building a school is the easiest things, but maintaining them, maintaining 2,000 schools is not very easy. It's just, alhamdulillah, become one of the largest NGOs, educational NGOs in the world. And why? So that why was, I thought, very interesting. That this is what's happening, and I think जो भी हो रहा है Pakistan में or mostly Karachi, this actually came from the chairman of Red Cross, that there is no city in the world that gives so much charity as Karachi does. And alhamdulillah, now he was asking me, why does Karachi give so much charity? There's no answer to that. So here I'm saying all of this, and I'm extremely happy the way the way you explained, और आपने भी जैसे explain किया, and I would say there should be a lot of such discussions that go on, and so thank you.
Thank you for pointing that out, and truly TCF is an inspiration for a lot of us. Recently there was a conference of Indian Muslims Association, and they were talking about Education 2050 in Dallas. And I could find no better example, and I did, than using TCF as an example as to how the Indian diaspora can motivate so that our Muslim school, this was a Indian Muslims conference, so on that basis, TCF is, has been a game changer in more ways than one, and today TCF is a brand, probably the best known brand for Pakistani philanthropy and Pakistani projects, anywhere. But these things start small, and I'm cognizant that I'm here at the Habib University. And the Habib University obviously has a huge link with the Habib family. And there is a small, perhaps a very small unknown fact as an example of philanthropy in the true sense of the word. When the partition happened, people had moved from Mumbai and other places, came to Karachi. A lot of you, some of you maybe, but a lot of you may not be aware of a small place that exists until today in Kharadar. It's called the Sayyida store. I don't know how many people have seen the Sayyida store. It's a small place, yes. The history was simply this, that middle class people, it's a very interesting term that I hear in Pakistan, कि जो सफ़ेद पोश लोग होते हैं. I try to understand the etymology of सफ़ेद पोश, but that's neither here nor there. When the partition happened, many people moved, they came to Karachi. These were middle class people, these were people, who would be very restrained in asking anyone for anything. This was the empathy of the family in those early days, that they opened the Al Sayyida store so that anybody could walk into that store, take whatever they wanted. If they had some money to pay for it, they would pay for it. If they didn't, they would just walk, no questions asked. To actually preserve the integrity and the respect of the recipients. To me, these examples are so inspiring to say, when we talk about philanthropy, there are lessons to be learned in places like this, and I salute the family for their forward thinking and their empathy to have been able to establish that store, fund it, and run it so that the integrity and the respect of the people was saved. This is the true meaning of ihsan as we mean it, and we pray, for the family, we pray for all the philanthropists who have made this place. And Pakistan, as far as I know, is number 2 in philanthropy after the United States. So this is the spirit of giving that this nation has. So once again, thank you very much, Dr. Sahib, for the opportunity.
Because it relates to the University of Habib University's own story, the gentleman's comment and what you've been saying, I'd like to say just something very quickly about the fact that Habib University too was born out of a sense of crisis, the kind of crisis that Janab, you were just talking about. So we came into existence in 2014. Of course, the project, Wasif started working on the project with the Habib family several years before that. But it was very much as a result of the crisis that this society has faced minimally since September 11th, right? That is why it became very obvious that we needed a liberal arts institution, yeah. Because you can see that many of these jihadi organizations, they have leadership which is doctors and engineers, but people with a very, what should one say, one-dimensional education, yeah, not a broad-based, humanistic, which would be more of a traditional education. That is more of a traditional education. This specialized form of education is very modern and very post-colonial. Otherwise, as the word Hakim itself indicates, the Hakim, who is both a philosopher as well as a doctor, as well as what would later be called a Renaissance man. Everybody was, a Renaissance man in that sense, as far as traditional education was concerned. So this university is also born out of that sense of crisis, and this whole project of reparation and of healing that we have as part of our curriculum is also very much comes out of that. Well, with those brief words, thank you so much to Dr. Hasnain Walji, as well as to all of you for participating in this inaugural event in our Reshaping Philanthropy series. Thank you.